Good morning. It is Tuesday and it is morning coffee, and I am here with Angie Ledbetter coming to you from Baton Rouge. Good morning, Angie.
Good morning.
And I'm in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and Kat is out visiting, I think, in the state of Oregon.
Right.
So that whole state, if you hear that there are all sorts of wild and crazy things happening there, we know it's that kind of energy. She may be joining us, but we don't know yet. So today we're going to do something a little different. We've been talking about art and writing and a writer's life because Angie, Kat, and I all have threads in our life, some of the major threads that go through those kind of creative endeavors. But today we felt we'd talk to you about something even very human, more human. And that is, what do you do when life hands you a curveball or on that bumpy road of life? And one of the things with life, if it was always smooth sailing, we would never appreciate the joys, the highs. It's the lows that give us that contrast to know when the high is so beautiful. And being our age, around there, Angie and I, we've had a few bumps in life, I would say. Wouldn't you say, Angie, girl? There's been a few bumps and curveballs.
A few bumps, a few lumps, but just deal with them and move on.
That's right. And, you know, we come from two different perspectives, too, in the sense of marital status and family. I am divorced. I'm living alone by choice. And I moved to Sheboygan after a life event where I got divorced, retired, business fell apart. So a lot of different traumas. And it wasn't a geographical cure because I packed up all my stuff and moved all that mental stuff with me to just take a look at it and to heal and to just bloom in a different kind of energy zone. And we'll be talking about that maybe as we go through this. But Angie, you just celebrated an anniversary. How long have you been married to Dennis, the famous Dennis Ledbetter, who's going to be appearing in Baton Rouge at the Red Lounge on Friday? Yes.
The Red Dragon, right. At Baton Rouge. With Kinky Friedman.
Yay.
At our age, you'll recognize the name. But yes, we celebrated 30 years of ups and downs and roller coaster ride, and it hasn't been the fairy tale that you're raised to believe that marriage is. So, but we're at a good point, and we live in reality, and we've got some good therapists, so getting good now.
Right, and so part of that is just the wonder, the beauty of knowing you love someone and knowing you're going to make it work. And so you're going to be bringing that kind of wisdom to us as well. And just like I say, Angie and I have been kicking around the planet for a few years, so I know that she has done her homework better than I, and she has some suggestions for us. Things that happen. You know, Angie, one of the things I like, I've seen it on the source of all my information, Facebook, but it's when your life goes astray, just yell plot twist and go on. So I bet we both yelled plot twist a few times. But what are some of the things that have helped you get through those bumpy roads or those curveballs?
I'm telling you, it's not on my handy-dandy list of 10 things, but having some sort of creative outlet in your life is like it's a priority. You have to have something creative. And I'm not saying creating masterpieces with all or acrylics or whatever, but you have to have an outlet, or you just dry up and blow away, or your frustrations and the victimhood, like we were talking about, take over. And creativity can take a ton of forms. If you're in the house with 3 young kids and you don't have much, cooking has been a great outlet for me. As you can tell from my size, I still use that therapy. But just the chopping of the veggies is a good frustration outlet. Or creating something you know somebody's going to enjoy. You got to cook anyway, so.
Right. And, you know, with creativity, that's a good one to think of, because one of the things that works for me when I even get in a tangle, like a mental confusion, I'm not sure which way to go, or maybe I've been angry, somebody done me wrong, is writing. And it's not really writing for publication. It's just writing about the story, writing about what happened, writing about my feelings. And as I write, it is that outlet, and sometimes it's a way for me to clarify. Because if I see it and I work on it and I write it, all of a sudden it makes sense. And sometimes it's a way to blow off steam because I can let my evil twin go out and just rant and rave and get on a soapbox that nobody else wants to hear. So that's another one of those creative things, is writing in order to find your own balance, find your way, maybe solve a problem.
Right.
So one of the things I use as well, because when you live by yourself, there's not a lot of cooking going on.
Sure. Writing is great. It's cheap. Everybody on the planet's got a piece of paper and a pencil. And Dennis used to always say, "What are you doing in there playing on that computer?" And I'd say, "Believe me, you want me to be in here venting to my Word document. You want me to."
Yeah. Yeah, it's a safer place in a way to just let it all out. And then if you want to hit delete, it's okay. Or some people I know throw their writing into like a fire just to let it go, different things like that. But writing for yourself and cooking. Do you ever use your visual arts, Angie, when you're needing to get out of a funk? Because you're also a visual artist, photographer, doodler, painter.
I do. It's one of my best options to get yourself out of a funk or a bad situation, just to remove yourself from it. And I found, and I've read studies about, if you do mindless chores, vacuuming, driving, not that it should be mindless, but it releases something on that side of your brain that lets you see different options and have a different type of focus.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's one of the things in our toolbox, is when we get our knickers in a knot, try to express it. Well, I was going to say express it creatively, but if you're doing cooking and you're mad at somebody, you can put like nails in the food, so that wouldn't be the best way. So I'm glad I don't cook. I'll just write it.
You have to have some kind of creative outlet, or you stuff it down, stuff it down, stuff it down, stuff it down, and it's eventually going to come out. And if you don't want it to be as in the form of poison to yourself, you've got to have some kind of creative outlet. Yeah. Or go out in the backyard and scream really loud. You got to have some way to get it out.
Yeah, or in the car. A car is a good place for screaming.
Yeah.
When you say poison, Angie, one of my favorite sayings is, holding anger or holding a grudge is like swallowing poison and waiting for the other person to die. Ain't going to happen.
Exactly.
One of the things that I know you use, because I've really had the privilege of getting to know you a little bit in these morning coffees, is humor. And I find humor goes a long way to changing a mood that one is in. And there are days when I wake up and it seems like everything I touch goes wrong. And I just sort of laugh at the universe and say, okay, hit me with your best shot. Just keep it coming. Ways just to laugh at yourself or laugh at the situation. So sometimes humor is a way that I use in changing my mood.
Absolutely. There's nothing better than a big fat belly laugh, really. And if you can't laugh at yourself, and a lot of people now have such tender feelings, and you have to be really careful you don't offend everything seems to offend them. And I'm not like that. You better laugh at every chance you get, and especially at yourself. And if you don't, you just isolate yourself in this little small world of misery. That's another way of releasing the humor. If I sang, which I don't, I bet that would be another way to release stress and change your mood. I wish I did sing.
Well, I don't sing at all. It would be I used to wake my son up by singing, and he used to call it caterwauling. But I think even if you're by yourself, just belt out some tunes. Or I used to work in a trauma center. And it got very tense, and one of the things I would do is try to uplift the whole trauma team. And I used to have a thing that I called wet dog wiggle. And we've always seen wet dogs, how they do that. So I would say, go to the bathroom, or even when no one's looking, or if someone's looking, I don't care. Just go ahead and do a wet dog wiggle. And it does a couple things. One, you feel so ridiculous you start laughing. Two, I think it takes your body out of that stress that it's been holding. And three, the people around you are probably going to laugh. It's probably not good to do it in front of patients or anything, but that, just like it would be dancing, but you're not going to do a pirouette around an emergency room, but you can give it a little wet dog wiggle every now and then. So a lot of my nurses always knew the wet dog wiggle. And I would say if you did it in the bathroom all by yourself and do like a chicken dance and a Macarena, then when you come out, you've got a great big smile on your face and everyone's going to wonder what you did in the bathroom. So it changes your mood. Do a conga line around your house. Get your kids to follow you, right, Angie? They'll think you're nuts, but they know that.
And I know Kat does this. She'll get in her car and just blast up the music. I do that too. I'll get some good old rock and roll or some good twangy country, roll my windows down a little bit and just blast it up. There's just something about shaking it off or getting you out of your own head, which is sometimes your worst enemy.
Oh, it always, I think, is our worst enemy. Yeah. Give us something on your list. You've got a list of pearls of Angie's wisdom.
Oh, yeah. Then we can take those to the bank.
Yeah.
Let's say when life throws you curveballs. I love this quote by Robert Schuller. Press on. Obstacles are seldom the same size tomorrow as they are today. So here's a couple. I'll just pick some random ones. Try to gain some perspective on the problem or obstacle. How? Physical distance, seeking your loved one's opinions, your trusted friends. There has to be an element of trust there. Putting things on hold, not reacting right away. A lot of people are all reaction all the time, can't think about things or take a moment to contemplate. It's just, I guess because of social media and reality TV, there's no contemplation or think about it a minute anymore. I think that's important.
Let me pick up on two of those that you have. The one about think about things or give yourself the time. I always say that between the action, the thing that happens to you, and what you're going to do about it is a beautiful moment of opportunity. And that's when you have the choice on how the whole energy is going to go. Like with road rage, somebody goes by and flips you the bird. Well, right there is your opportunity. And one of the things you could think of instead of flipping them the bird back or having a crummy day is thinking, well, that person's having a bad day. I'll just wave and blow them a kiss. Or, just something to change the energy of the situation. But that little second is, I think, just a pearl of wonderful opportunity, because it's your choice to be able to change what happens.
That's true. Yeah. We don't have to be an act and react all the time. One person could be the hero and step back and just stop, take a breath, and think. I don't think there'd be so much violence if we could do that more often.
Oh, I think so. And I don't think we realize that moment is ours to create. It's a creative moment where we think, okay, how can I change the energy here? That person is just, whatever happened to me. Somebody just bumped into me in a supermarket. So I could go ahead and shake up their cart and holler, or I could do something different, wish them a beautiful day. The other point you mentioned before that I like is I think it was a different take time or get away from the situation. And
absolutely.
Yeah, my ex-husband, who I still get along with, my son's father, and I, when we would get into a tangle, we used the word, I'm going to brush my teeth. He must have had very clean teeth. But what that meant is, I'm going to step away, and maybe I'll be brushing my teeth or not. And then when I come back, we'll revisit this. It could be I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to walk the dog. But our key word was, I'm going to go brush my teeth. And one of us would take the high road and leave to brush their teeth, which just meant get out of the tangle and come back with a clear perspective.
What a great metaphor, though. You're going to go wash your mouth out and clean it up before you open it to speak.
I like that. And like I say, there are rocky times where we must have the cleanest teeth in the city. But how do you and Dennis get out of a tangle? Do you need to just go for a walk, or does he go play music, or do you say, I'm going to go to my woman cave? Because I bet you have a time where you have to step away sometimes.
Yep, a lot. We both have our own individual hobbies and that we're passionate about. So going and doing one of that, he singing or writing a song, and me going out and driving an hour away or right around the city and taking some beautiful photographs. It just pulls you away from the situation long enough, like you said, brushing your teeth. We'll go have long dental appointments, not just quick as brushing teeth. You got to go away for a while. Yeah. But getting out of the immediate tension and stress of the situation gives you a breather and some perspective. And if all else fails and you keep coming back to the same bones of contention, professional help is a good thing.
Yeah, yeah, and boy, and I think just it gives us another way for someone else to look at it, and not to prove anybody right or wrong, because I bet in most cases, oh, there's a little bit of each of us or whoever is having the dispute, and partly it's interesting to see where we are at fault, or where we have the dog in the race, or whatever, because fault isn't a word I like to use, but we can find where we maybe took a misstep as well.
Right.
I like those. What else do you have on your list? Let's take another one.
Let's see. Build a good support team to help you overcome it. Also, I love brainstorming. It's probably because I'm a twin, and that's a byproduct. I work better when other people are around me and we're throwing around ideas, and it seems to light a fire. So having a good support team in any negative situation helps. Let's see. Pray. Get by yourself in a natural setting, whether that's somewhere out in the forest or a neighborhood park or whatever, or a small chapel. There's a couple here that I go to that's usually maybe one or two people in it. It's open 24 hours a day, and just go and listen. When you're speaking and thinking from your heart, it does something to your head. I don't know if it changes the algorithms for me or whatever, but I really like that. When I clear my head, I can listen to my heart better. So praying is one of my #1 weapons.
Right, and sometimes we say, or I say, when we pray, we're talking to God or a higher power. When we are quiet, and that's what you like out in nature, is when we can receive the answers. It's when we can hear what we're supposed to do, or our heart message, when we receive from Him. And Anne Frank, what a brave old soul she was, in her attic, 12 years old, and she had this thing that is always in my mind. When the world seems twisted, the best thing you can do is step out in nature and sit there with God, because then everything seems as it should be. And I think, that's one thing about nature, is it has an order to it.
Absolutely.
Just you're in the middle of a hurricane, and then it does have an order, but you don't want to be there. But other than that.
Look up Fibonacci, and you'll see a whole miraculous order to things. But I do think it's important, especially today when we're so bombarded with electronics and news and media and noise, to unplug and get away from everything. I don't do it enough. I try to do it. I know I do it at least once or twice a week, but I should probably make 30 minutes or an hour every day to unplug from everything and just get in the quiet.
Yeah. I'm still at Fibonacci. I learned like, what's the butt word? How do you say butt? Bahonkus. Bahonkus. Now I have Fibonacci. So I'm going to go, when the show's over, I'm looking at Fibonacci. When you're watching this, we're not going to tell you what it means. You've got to find out by yourself. That's part of how we used to do it in school. Look it up. But I still like Bahonkus. Yeah, so, the unplugging is a situation, because I think Americans, well, no, the world, anybody who's on these little machines, we want things quick and fast and bits and pieces. And relationships aren't like that. Relationships take time. They're like a good gumbo, How do you like that, Angie? I
love it.
You got to kind of simmer and have layers. And I think I wonder if we would lose that skill of building relationships, because we're OMG, LOL, ROLF, back with each other. And I've seen couples at restaurants, and they're both texting. So maybe unplugging is good for relationships and for family as well as for yourself.
Absolutely. I know some people, when they go out to eat, everybody has to stack their cell phones on top of each other on the table. The first one to touch it pays the tab.
Oh, that's
it's sad that we've come to that. And speaking of that, that's why I have the dumb phone. You see my little dumb phone? It doesn't, not internet. My kids rag me about it, but I know how I am with my addictive personality. I'd be on that thing, and when I'm away from the computer, I want to be away from it, because I agree. I think we are losing some of the skills and arts of conversation, relationships. People don't really stop and absorb what's going on, what they're doing, before they post it to social media. And again, action, reaction. There's no lag time between thing, and I think it's disrupting people's problem-solving skills.
Yeah, I do too, and also in communication,
Yeah.
because when we communicate with someone, I'm going to say it's like making love, and I don't mean in the sexual way, but you know, it's the give and it's the take and it's the flow, and you get an intimacy about talking with someone, or a depth. And I think with the social media and with all the texting, it takes that away. It's very two-dimensional, and it takes away the beauty of language, because everything is reduced to, you know, like the OMGs, the LOLs. And just think, you are someone who loves words. Can you imagine life without the depth of those beautiful words that you weave into poems?
I can't, and I am very thankful that my kids all love to read. It's probably the last of the dying breed, but there's just something about reading from and writing on paper that I think you have to have. Again, you have to be stopping and reflecting at some point if you're writing something down, or if you're creating a poem or journaling or whatever, you're getting something out in a creative way that's not just all immediate. And I
Yeah.
mean, we are all microwaves in this society. I want to retain some of the crock pot.
Yeah, that, oh, I like that. Yeah, a good crock pot or a big stew, and with all the layers, because there's so many nuances to having a relationship and communicating. And I was even thinking of how we tell people we love them. You know, if you think of times, I bet you've written Dennis love notes and thought of different ways to express it, and then nowadays you get a text or a marriage proposal on the text. And, you know, it just takes away. But I think that's part of creating a relationship and solving a tangle in it, is knowing how to communicate.
True. And again, I hope that those abilities aren't going away. I feel sorry for my kids when I see the struggle with all these messages going back and forth, and you go blah 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 blah, and I don't know how it's possible to have a young relationship now. It's just changed. Here I am sounding like my own grandmother, but it's just, there's no courting period. There's no, it's, I want everything right now, friends with benefits or whatever. There is no ability to wait anymore. Everybody has to have everything right this dang minute. Yeah.
And so that's the part of the relationship. But then when it goes wrong, then I think we're in that disposable society,
Yeah.
where, okay, next,
Yeah.
without the problem solving. Oh, well, we can't change the world. You know, if they would ask us, we could probably fix it all, Angie.
We could.
Throw cat into the mix, and we would have quite a fix. What else do you have on your list? We're probably at about number 6 or something.
Oh, I haven't been going in order. I've just been grabbing them. Run away and make a short retreat. Getting out of your immediate environment or situation, even for an overnighter, is a great stress reliever. Everybody deserves and needs me time, especially when you're talking about problems or something on your head that you need to get away from. And that goes double for caregivers and parents.
Yeah. Especially. Yeah, I think caregivers need to take care of themselves first. Sometimes I think people view taking care of yourself as selfish, but they forget that if we don't take care of ourselves, if we don't love ourselves, if we don't put ourselves first, we don't have anything to give to anybody else. What's that expression? If mama ain't happy, nobody's happy.
I trained myself in that. I used to think that, you know, if there's everybody and everything else comes first, and it took me decades, literally, to even put myself on the list. And most of the time, I'm still not up here at number 1, but at least I'm up on the list now.
Yeah.
And that breeds a lot of resentment and bitterness if you are not taking care of yourself in some way, especially if you have a relationship or whatever where you are on your own a lot. You better find something to fill up that gaping hole, or it's going to be negative things.
That's right, yeah. You know, one of the things that is so important, and we're getting to know it more, is our thoughts create our reality. And so be careful what you think. And if you're one of those people who is tuned into the news all the time, you're going to have a pretty crappy reality, because all you're going to hear is the destruction and the hate. So make sure you step away from that. I don't even watch these. I try to get the headlines so I know what's going on and I'm not an idiot. But the more we can create a reality of love, acceptance, understanding through our thoughts, the more it truly becomes a reality. And part of that, too, is think, it's like act as if. Suppose you wake up and you're just feeling bummed out. Put a smile on your face, go out and greet a few people, tell yourself it's a beautiful day, and it's not going to take long before you're not acting. It becomes a reality. And yeah, it's one of my morning practices. I try not to get out of bed until I believe it's a beautiful day. So as I'm waking up, my first thing is, it's a beautiful day. Because actually, I have to admit, I sing It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood to my dogs who sleep with me. So we have a rousing chorus of It's a Beautiful Day, or maybe Zippity-Doo-Dah. But I don't leave the bed until I'm just ready to embrace the day. And that's a good way to start, is telling yourself how beautiful the day is, because it'll be.
That's right. I mean, it's your choice, your responsibility, like we were talking about. It's your choice how you face the world, and what you put out there is eventually and mostly what you're going to get back. But taking that a step further, after you wake up and convince yourself that it's going to be a beautiful day, or you're faking it until you make it, do community or volunteer work and random acts of kindness. That's always a great way to escape your own concerns and problems. Fighting the negatives with positive at least leaves you on neutral ground and not 6 feet under.
That's a good one. I like
even that. I can be having the worst day. My life can be crashing down on my head. Worries over my kids, want to strangle my husband, money concerns, whatever. But if I go to the men's shelter and serve supper, I swear to you, it's like I've been transported to another universe, and that just falls away. And I'm right there in an immediate situation.
And
listening to their problems and seeing their situation makes yours look like, ooh.
Yeah. And the other thing is, you probably don't go to the men's shelter with a grumpy face.
No.
You go with a way of happy, or not happy, but to give and to love and to share, and then that spreads and it becomes contagious, and it's a way to uplift them by uplifting yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like the random acts of kindness, though, because it's like creating an epidemic. You know, if you're nice to someone, we've seen has a kind of spring balls or whatever that, cannonballs. They go be kind of nice to someone else. And so if you can even think of little things. One of the things I used to do in St. Petersburg was we had a lot of parking meters. So I'd always take the money for my meter and I always put a couple of coins on top for the next person. And I thought, think how thrilled you are if you go and you find a coin. So it's not a big deal if you have an extra coin, but I would have them up there for the next person to come along. And I just thought, it made me feel good, and I bet the next person was happy.
I love that. I love to buy anonymous meals for servicemen and women, and don't tell the waiter, I want to pay for theirs, but don't tell them who it is. So they don't ever know, but then they look around, and it could be anybody. And
yeah.
I do packs of sticky notes. I need to do this. It's been a while. It just says, you are beautiful. And I'll stick them on people's windows or in the public bathroom mirror, or hand it to the guy in McDonald's drive-thru. I like that. It's simple, but it really makes people's day.
Yeah, and it makes you happy too. So one of the things is, by spreading that love, that kindness, it comes back to us real quick, because we're happy when we do it. We bring happiness. And can you imagine the epidemic we can cause if we all just loved ourselves first and then spread it out? That would be a pretty awesome world. We have the power to create it. And I just love that thought, to create that. But I love your sticky notes, and even just saying thank you. Thank you is a powerful word. One of the things, with praying, people say that, as a trauma chaplain, sometimes people say, I don't think I pray. And I would say, how often do you say thank you? Because thank you is a form of praying. It's a form of gratitude.
Right.
So just say thank you.
I'll get it if I've had a really great meal, or even if not, but my server was really on the ball and nice. I'll ask to talk to the manager, which usually means you're going to stand there and wait 5 or 10 minutes. And they come out and they look like, oh gosh, somebody else is going to complain. Just the joy on their face when you say, Michael was my server and he was excellent, or the food was really great tonight. All they hear is the bitching, whining, and complaining. day after day after day. So just knowing that I'm going to give them something different and something to be positive about, that they're doing right or that their restaurant or business is doing well, that's something free and easy we can all do.
Exactly. And also think of all the times you can do it, like when you're at the post office, where
Yeah.
a postal worker, no wonder they see people after people. Greet them and just, hey, I hope your day's great. Put a little pump into it. Or supermarket checkers. So there's so many ways that we can spread happiness. And like I say, it ricochets right back to us. So.
Right.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I love this, Angie. And I'm sure Kat would have bounced in with a whole bunch of more. One of the things she would have said, she just goes out and, woo, and howls at a moon.
Right.
A little moon howling wouldn't hurt, if it's appropriate, or even if it isn't. Go out and howl at a moon.
And release some of that stress, pressure, and tension.
Yep, and then do the wet dog wiggle and come in.
And then take a nap.
Yeah, naps are always good. You're a good napper, right?
Yeah, I'm a good napper.
Yeah, I'm not a napper, but I'm a good sleeper, but not a napper. Anyway, well, this has been delightful. Thank you for sharing this time. And if only they would just appoint us to be the chairman of Happy Pretty People. So we could change the world, right?
That's right. One smile at a time. Isn't that corny? But it is kind of true.
Yeah, and when I do have the blues, if I'm feeling a little sad, if I decide I'm going to smile at the next person I meet and the next person and greet them, it's probably by 2 or 3 people I'm happy again. And I think
you need to move down here to the deep south.
Right,
plentiful and everybody's friendly.
Yeah, that's the way. There was a movie years ago, Crocodile Dundee. Do you remember Crocodile Dundee?
Yes.
The Australian, and he was in New York City, and the streets were full of millions of people, and he's going down the street, good day, mate, good day, mate, good day, mate, good day, mate, good day, and I'm thinking, we could be almost like that. Can you imagine the love if he did that? I mean, New York's kind of, it's kind of crowded, but hey, there were times when we passed people on the street, I'm sure, 100 years ago, it was such a glory to see somebody. Now you'll see people walk past each other like they're strangers. I'm thinking, hey, we're sharing the same journey. Say hi.
We can only interact on the computer. We're not good at human relations anymore.
We'll try to change that, especially with our morning coffee. Here's a toast of coffee to you and to the whole world, everybody who's watching us, and we'll send one to Kat. May her day be beautiful. I'm sure she's having a fun day. What's on your cup?
Oh, it's all the literary masters. My poor little cup is cracked. I got this from Barnes & Noble's years ago. I think it leaks a little. It's like me. It leaks a little bit, and it's got cracks and chips, but I still love it.
Yeah, that's right. I was just going to say, yeah, it's part of our life. One thing I was going to say to you, too, about your photography, I've been trying to now work with a video camera, and I find thinking about taking a picture puts a whole new perspective on how you look at the world. And so that's got to be a beautiful thing. When you look at a flower, you start looking for that picture. And so if more people, even if they don't even have a camera, think about how they would take a picture of something, it just ramps up the way you look at nature and the details. So that's been a real...
Focus off of you and put your focus somewhere else, and it is an awesome thing. And everybody has a camera on their phone these days.
Now,
so,
do you?
If it's on there, I don't know about it and don't use it.
Everybody but Angie Ledbetter has a camera on their phone.
Right.
Anyway, yeah. So seeing things with that eye, I want to thank you and Kat for that, because I've been so I've enjoyed the photography that you've both done. So now I'm kind of looking at things with that artist's eye. Anyway, said goodbye about 3 times. We could keep going all day. See you next week, and thank you for stopping into Morning Coffee with myself, Ann White, and Angie Ledbetter, and Kat Magendie is here with us in spirit. So, Angie, go out and have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, take care.